You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Okay, we're live, but we got to let it breathe just for a moment here while we bring on the Facebook fan family. Give us just a second here, and we'll dive right into what was actually a very busy day at Dove Valley. Welcome in, everybody, to the Huddle Up Podcast, presented as always by Mile High Huddle, powered by Overtime Media. I'm your host, Chad Jensen, and with me, as always, my partner in crime. You know him, you love him. He is Zack Kelberman. Zack, it was interesting today how much the focus was on, is Drew Lock the guy? So today we got to hear from, who did we hear from? We got to hear today from Vic, Drew, and Garrett Bowles. And then yesterday, it was published late, but so I'll say Tuesday evening, Elway did his weekly Elway Access deal with the team site, talked about Drew Lock. And I want to start with what Elway said. I'll grab the exact quote here in a second, but the bottom line, cut to what's it all mean is Elway said, hey, we're still excited about Drew. We want to see better consistency. We want to see him eliminate the mistakes.
Yeah, I think that's the refrain from everyone, whether it's a fan, whether it's a teammate, whether it's a coach, or whether it's an executive like John Elway. Consistency and growth is the Drew Lock calling cards right now. That's the two words you associate him with most, is growth and be consistent and take that next step going forward. And again, Elway knows the plight of playing quarterback in the NFL. He knows the plight of developing a quarterback in the NFL, at least from the quarterback's point of view. And he sees a lot of himself in Drew Lock. So there's a natural emotional investment. Nothing he really said is too surprising to me. It's right there. We still like what we see in him. We want to see him get better going forward. It was the same mantra he was saying back in January and throughout the entire year.
It really was. And I think what fans need to pay close attention to is, again, it's easy to rise and fall with the fate of every single game and go on that roller coaster, but it's a reminder that the Broncos have been, from a macro perspective, much more even killed through this entire process. And they haven't really, despite the ups, despite the downs, and even Elway said today, Drew has had an up and down year. Through those ups and downs, Zack, they haven't really wavered in terms of their overall evaluation on him. He did detail pretty explicitly some areas he wants to see Drew improve, specifically, I think, these last two games. But let me just read this quote real quick, Zack, and then I will serve this back over to you. Here's what Elway said in terms of, hey, do you think Drew's showing improvement? The last couple of weeks, we've seen him start dumping it off more and taking what the defense gives him. This is kind of how it was postured to Elway. Here's Elway, quote, yeah, I think we're seeing it. He's gone through his reads better. He's dumped some things off and continued to use the experience to get better. So obviously the inconsistency, that comes with being young, especially if you're young and you've got young guys around you like him, like we do. It seems like when they all don't play well, they do it together. Again, we've just got to work on consistency. I think Drew's had an up and down year, but we still like what we see in him and still think he's got a chance to be a very good quarterback in this league, close quote.
You know what he's saying there, too, is the mistakes have made him better, and what that translates to is the hero ball you're not seeing anymore is because he's gotten better and learned from that. And the type of quarterback Drew is, a natural gunslinger, he shoots from the hip, he plays backyard football, he's never going to learn or progress by sitting and watching, or by sitting and have someone telling him how to play the position that he knows and loves. He has to go out there and falter, Chad. He has to go out there and scrape his knee and get back up and keep running and keep going forward, keep firing those passes. And Elway sees it. Elway sees, yes, there are baby steps. It's even fetal steps, Chad. They're not even baby steps, but they are steps going forward. So if you don't take it from us, Broncos country, take it from John Elway himself, who's not just BSing you. He's not just saying what you want to hear. Locke, for all his faults this year lately, and might not show it, he's taken those steps forward, and it's tangible progress for a young quarterback.
And you're exactly right. I mean, for Elway, I'm sure a big part of how he views Locke is through the scope of his own history playing in the league. I mean, we're talking about a quarterback, an ex-NFL quarterback who, as a rookie, was so overwhelmed and just swimming that he was, and he was razzed about this for years and years. And to this day, I'm sure he still gets razzed. So overwhelmed that, and just like in over his head, he walked up and got under center under the right guard. And, it's a hard thing to live down, but Elway's been through that. He knows kind of the trial by fire and the way it works. But I want to read one more over here that Elway said here. Bear with me one sec. Quote, I think he showed that there are some bright spots there, and he's done a heck of a job in a lot of situations. But to be good and to be great in this league, you got to play with consistency. And here's the highlight, gang, eliminate mistakes. So that's what we're looking for out of Drew. Hopefully eliminate some of those mistakes and keep, there's another underline, showing us the things he can do, Zach.
Yeah, it all comes back to the C word, Chad, consistency. And that's in reliability. And it's almost like the development with Garrett Bowles in a sense. It's the entire thing we wanted to see from him going forward to realize that massive potential and hit that ceiling is be consistent, be reliable, be someone the team can count on and someone the team can win behind, not win in spite of. And for a while, Garrett Bowles they were winning in spite of him. Now this year, they're winning because of him. And to an extent, I know quarterback's way more important than left tackle, but that's what Elway wants to see from a young player. Keep showing us the positive things you can do and try to cut out some of the negative traits. I think it's a very fair evaluation.
All right, guys, we have so much more to get to, including seeing what's on your mind. I see a lot of people in the stream, obviously, but a few questions, a super chat or two stacking up early. So we'll get to that here in just a second. But first, we do got to take care of a couple of quick matters of business, starting with the sponsor of tonight's show, of course, the live stream, sportsbetting.com, because right now, gambling is legal in the state of Colorado, and you got to use sportsbetting.com for all of those sports gambling needs. Here's how it works. First and foremost, the selling point. Sharp odds, low juice. You get that with sportsbetting.com. You get the hassle-free bonuses, which you can roll over after one time, as opposed to, you guys hear us talk about it day in, day out. The other sites out there make you have to use it 5 to 30 times before you can cash that out. Plus, you get 24/7 live customer support. It's always a real person in the United States, which is crucial anytime you're dealing with anything that has to do with money. But the kicker right now at sportsbetting.com, and this has changed, gang, so pay close attention here, is they got a new special run. You make your first deposit, and from there you're going to receive a 200% match up to $500 in free bet credits. All right, so it's a little bit different than play for a week, and if your losses exceed your winnings, they match it up to a certain dollar figure. This is $500 in free bet credits. Plus, you get a $25 free bet credit to tip off the new NBA season, which is kicking off here shortly, or I should say tipping off here shortly, just as the Broncos are kind of fading out, the NBA's kicking in. So you got to go right now, sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle. That's sportsbetting.com/milehighhuddle. And take advantage of that opportunity. All right, real quick, Zach, let me just remind everybody how to connect with us on social media. I don't know, dude, if it's because I just got a new phone, for what it's worth, if you guys have been trying to holler at me on Twitter or at me. But I got the newest Galaxy Samsung Note. And for some reason, dude, Twitter, I can access my mentions, my DMs, but I can't access the actual tweet stream. So give me a day or two. I don't know if it's my phone, if it's the app, but nevertheless, connect with us on Twitter at HuddleUpPod, at Mile High Huddle. And then my partner here, as you can see, I always forget to turn this back on after I record with Kim here. As you can see on the screen, Zack Kelberman at Kelberman NFL, myself at Chad and Jensen. And then, hey gang, it's not too late to head on over to the merch store, get your swag on, get a hat, get a t-shirt. As you can see here, Zach is rocking the very popular MHH dad hat. Love it. And hoodies, face masks, little something for everybody if you want.
Very comfortable stuff, guys. Very high quality. Fits around your head. I highly recommend it.
Looks good too. Also, Facebook right now, those of you watching us over there, at the bottom of where your little chat is, you can put in your question and whatnot. There's an option to become a supporter. Click that button if you want to support what we're doing here, because we have some really big plans starting the first week of January for our Facebook community, our official supporters. And lastly, if you're not in a position to patronize the merch store, become a supporter, super chat, superstar, any of that's all good. We're just stoked to have you in the stream. We do ask, though, that you do these three things, because it's within the power of every person listening, watching this right now to do these three things. Number one, subscribe. Number two, like this video. Crucial on YouTube, crucial on Facebook. And then the litmus test is number three. If we're doing a good job for you, share this video out there and help us continue to grow and reach new like-minded Broncos fans just like you.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
Yikes, that was ugly, Broncos country. But let me tell you something that might help improve your mood. Coors Hard Seltzer is not your average seltzer. Rooted in Coors' long history of sustainability, is a brand inspired by a generation that wants to do good in the world with a mission to restore America's rivers. Coors Hard Seltzer is launching the world's easiest volunteer program. Never before has it been so easy to make a difference in the world. Whatever you're doing, by simply cracking open a can of Coors Hard Seltzer, you're volunteering. Our waterways, gang, are at risk. 80% of America's rivers are drying up, but through a partnership with Change the Course, Coors Hard Seltzer is helping to protect and restore America's rivers. Here's how it works. Each 12-pack of Coors Hard Seltzer restores 500 gallons of fresh water to U.S. rivers and the communities that depend on them. The results? 1 billion gallons of water restored to 16 river basins across the U.S., including the Colorado River, and that's just year one. 4 refreshing flavors, 1 cool cause. Enjoy naturally flavored black cherry, mango, lemon lime, and grapefruit. And the specs are in, gang. Coors Hard Seltzer is 4.5% ABV. And Zach, it's only 90 calories.
Chad, I like all the flavors, but personally, I had the lemon lime with me today, and nothing takes the sting off quite like a Coors Hard Seltzer. It's my go-to for football season, non-football season, but after a tough Broncos loss, Chad, it definitely goes down a little better.
So join the world's easiest volunteer program. By simply cracking open a can of Coors Hard Seltzer, you can volunteer to restore America's rivers. You buy Coors Hard Seltzer, you help restore 500 gallons of water into America's rivers. It is that simple. So visit CoorsSeltzer.com to find Coors Hard Seltzer near you. That's CoorsSeltzer.com.
For every 12-pack sold through 8/31/2021, Coors will purchase services from Change the Course to restore 500 gallons of fresh river water. Details at CoorsSeltzer.com. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
All right, John, I know we have a few people that have been patiently waiting. There's several topics we want to get to tonight, but we can kind of vibe back and forth from the chat to the topics. But we got Jason Christopher jumping in. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you for the super chat. He says, wishing everybody at Mile High Huddle and the dedicated listeners a safe and Merry Christmas. Much love from Las Vegas, Nevada, #Broncos country. Very sweet, Jason, and Merry Christmas to you, my friend, and happy holidays to everybody. We appreciate you.
Yeah, so no matter if it's Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, any holiday you celebrate this week, be sure you're happy, be sure you stay healthy and safe, and enjoy yourselves, guys, because this year has been so terrible. And this is a sliver of good and wholesomeness that we can all enjoy. So thank you for your comment, Jason. I hope you have a great holiday and a great new year, and look forward to talking to you soon.
David on Facebook wants to know, will Vaughn be back this year? Now, Zach, I know you're working on an article that's coming up here soon at milehighhuddle.com. So maybe, break the news for those who missed the update today.
I think those who have a little more common sense realize Vaughn was never coming back this year, guys. I know you guys want to see him play, but it never made much sense to rush him back at his age, given what's at stake in the future and given his recovery with that ankle. It was never going to happen, and Vic Fangio all but said it's not going to happen. He said he doesn't see it. Obviously not this week. It makes no sense that he bring him back for one game next week. So no Vaughn until 2021, but hopefully by then, Chad, all things being equal and him healthy, we see the Vaughn of old next season.
I'll be honest with you. I think the Broncos and Vaughn were keeping that open as a possibility, him coming back in 2020, but they were only going to roll that out if it was going to factor into the playoffs.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I mean, if Vaughn was being told the entire time, Vaughn, there's no way you're coming back. We're just not going to risk it. Even if you tell us December 1, you're perfect. We practice you a little bit. We work you out a little bit. You look good. We just don't want to risk it. It's 2021. Accept it. I think you would have heard completely different tonality from Vaughn on social media and also from the team. So they kept it as an open possibility until last week when they got bounced officially from the playoffs. So now, of course, a lot of scrutiny, Zach, and including from us and on this show over the next, month and a half, 2 months is going to be, are the Broncos and Vaughn going to stick it out and stay married through his contract year? My prediction sitting here, day before, I guess the eve before, what is it, Christmas Eve, I guess is the way to say it, is that Vaughn is going to sign an extension, and it'll be relatively short term, like a deal that brings him or keeps him in Denver through 2023, let's say, lowers his 2021 cap hit, gives him some new money to kind of mitigate the stings, not even a sting, but it just is something to help the team, and he gets a couple extra years.
Yeah, it's like when you sign a player to an extension, if they're on like a 1-year type deal, it actually lowers the salary cap number going forward because you can spread out the cap hits, on the back end of the deal. I think regardless, whether he takes a pay cut, whether he signs an extension, or whether nothing changes, he's under contract. I think Vaughn is coming back to Denver next year, and we predicted Bradley Chubb is going to have a Bradley Chubb type season this year. So I'm going to go on record and say when Vaughn comes back next season, we're going to see the Vaughn of old. Maybe not 2015 Vaughn, but 2016, 2017, the good Von Miller next season.
All right, let me grab something real quick here. Actually, John, let's grab Cody Potter. If you have him, let's grab him real quick, and then I want to dive back into some of the things that Fangio said today. My stream is not quite there yet. Oh, look, it just jumped me. Dang it. Bear with me one second. There he is. Cody Potter, appreciate that generosity, my friend,
Thank
especially
you,
this time of year. It goes a long way. It means a lot to us. So appreciate you, man. Was a true superstar here at MHH. He says, Merry Christmas, MHH. Let's win these last two. Hopefully this offense can show a spark these final two games. My prediction, Denver 34, LA 30. I hope Judy gets 2 touchdowns on Chris Harris Jr. Mile high salute to you. And you as well, my friend. Really appreciate you. It's going to be really interesting because, of course, Chris Harris was on – maybe he wasn't on injured reserve. I think he was, though, when they met in Week 8. And so he's back, though, and as Fangio said today, he's playing really well. So it wouldn't surprise me to see Chris get one on Drew this week, pick one off. But at the same time, Chris is not the same player he was even 3 years ago, and Jerry Jeudy is as good of a route runner in the league right now as there is, even though there's some other flaws to his game, and especially between the years lately that are kind of preventing him from really reaching that potential.
What's funny is he was on IR in Week 8, but he still managed to blame someone, Chad. It's crazy how that happens. No, I mean, the thing with the Chargers secondary is they're definitely exploitable, and Chris Harris Jr. he passed his prime. He's never going to be what he was, like Chad mentioned, a few years ago in Denver. But I do think it's a very winnable game for Denver, if only because they already beat Los Angeles once this season. I know Herbert's playing well. I know the Broncos are coming off a tough loss, but this is, and the Raiders game the following week, they're both winnable games for Denver. I would not be surprised, Chad, if they end this year on a 2-game winning streak. Not at all.
I wouldn't either. And especially because it's the Chargers, and more often than not, lately, the Broncos have split with the Chargers. And with the Raiders. But I think they can get to. And I think they're going to be really focused on getting to because it's the only thing this team has to hang its hat on with what remains in the season. Chris, 24-year veteran of the Air Force, bona fide MHH superstar, and he's up there on the MHH Mount Rushmore. And I have a contact that I'm going to be working with here in the very near future to kind of have an open document, but it's going to be a graphic, Zach, that we're going to put up on YouTube as the the background channel. When you go to our actual channel, it's going to show up there on the background banner that's going to list the superstars on Mount Rushmore. Chris is going to be, and we can add to it as we go. Chris is obviously going to be one of the first names up there. Love you, buddy. And he says, Merry Christmas, MHH fam, and to you as well. It's so good to see you, buddy.
Yes. Thank you, Chris. Happy holidays.
Stay safe out there. All right, let me grab something that Vic Fangio said today. Bear with me one sec while I pop this on the screen for everybody to take a gander at here. So when Vic, of course, the game against the Bills, that was on a Saturday. Instead of the usual, the very next day you get a press conference. They took Sunday off, and we heard from Vic on Monday. And Vic's tonality on Drew and really everything that day was kind of just bummer. You could tell he was, disappointed, obviously, but just not giving you much, definitely not in any mood to err on the side of optimism in any way, shape, or form. Long story short, he opted not to, christen Drew as the starter next year when given the direct question and opportunity. But here's what he said today, because, of course, we in the media, we want to know what their thinking is on Drew. We want it for sure. We want an absolute rock-solid answer. Is Drew your guy at least next year? And so the questions keep coming. And here's what Fangio said today on what specifically Locke does that encourages him, the staff, Elway, that he can be the quarterback of the future. Quote, he makes a lot of good plays, good throws, makes good plays with his feet. He's athletic, can avoid the pressure, can scramble, and make plays. We just need to see more of it. Keep improving in all the little things that Drew can improve on. Nobody's working harder than him to do that. See, even that, Zach, is a compliment that we didn't get from Vic on Drew the last couple of times he's broached this subject has been broached. Back to Vic. He has the great want to and the great drive to be a great quarterback. We just hope to see constant improvement from him, close quote.
And constant improvement translates to what? Consistency. It's the same exact word Elway used, and it's the same exact thing Elway's saying. And all Fangio did in his answer that differed from Elway's is he laid out the good things that Locke is doing. The same things that Elway referenced. He can make plays. He has the arm. He's proven he can win in this league. They just want to put it all together and be consistent going forward. If he can do that, Chad, it seems like the Broncos are saying, listen, Drew, just string it together. Just make it happen. Be consistent, and you will be the guy. We want you to be the guy, but you have to earn it, and it's the only thing you have to do. It's almost it's an encouragement challenge to him. Almost, it's a positive approach to making him a better quarterback. I like it.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right, so I want to also talk about something that Vic said here with regard to Justin Herbert, and we've talked about it a lot on this podcast. How a pretty large segment of Broncos country has been eating their heart out all year long, as Drew, as Elway said, has been up and down, while other young guys are doing well, right, and crushing it. Kyler Murray started out hot, then he faded, seems to be kind of coming back on. Justin Herbert has been a steady, for the most part, stud. I mean, since he rolled out of bed and got his first opportunity when that doctor in L.A. botched the situation with Tyrod Taylor, Herbert has just been phenomenal. There's no way around it. And I've kind of downplayed it a little bit just because it hasn't come out in the wash in terms of wins. But this he's legit. And I didn't like him all that much in the draft, but he's legit. I have to eat my crow on Justin Herbert. Here's what Vic said on his impression, Zach, of Herbert. Quote, Herbert's having a great season. I'm very, very impressed with him. Big arm, big body, fast, strong in the pocket, hard to get down, has really run their offense with a great command. I think their offensive coaches have done a good job bringing him along. He's been very, very impressive. That's two varies. That's rare from Vic. Our secondary will basically align the same way it did last week. So that means O.J. Mudia on one boundary, Bosby on the other, and Will Parks in the nickel. And, Zach, as I serve this back over to you, Justin Herbert now is the rookie record holder for most touchdown passes as a rookie.
Yeah, I got to give him some credit, even though, game flow dictates that the Chargers have to throw a lot, so more opportunity for him. And listen, this is Fangio. He usually credits an opposing player. He's a lot more complimentary on opposing players than he is his own players. I'm not shocked he's talking about one of the better young quarterbacks in a complimentary light. That being said, though, the Broncos beat him already, Chad. So Fangio knows that he can beat him again. He's just, he's saying the right things through the media that a coach would do.
I'm just looking at this because, look, man, Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson, I want to say, co-owned the touchdown rookie record together. But in Peyton's case, he had 26 touchdowns and what was it? I think 28 picks that year as a rookie, I want to say. I don't have it right in front of me, but something like that. Look at these, insane efficiency from this rookie. 66.5 completion. He's going to get over 4,000. And he'll end up starting 15 games. So he'll get over 4,000 in 15 games. And even right now, chilling at 27 touchdowns to just 10 picks, that's frightening, Zach, because if you put Justin Herbert, as an example, the coaches, as Fangio said, in LA have done a great job developing him, yes, allowing him to hit the ground running, no doubt. But if you inserted him into a Kansas City Chiefs situation like Patrick Mahomes, balanced offense, studs at every level, defense, the whole nine. This is a guy that you would probably fear almost as much for 10, 15 years as Broncos fans currently do with Patrick Mahomes. It's frightening. And the only good thing to take away is that we know it's the Chargers and they're bumblers.
Let me just troll a little bit, though. It's nice that Herbert finally matched Locke's 2019 win total and only took him 13 games to do it, and Locke went 4-1 last year. Quarterback wins, or wins in general, are very important to me, and you can have all the stats in the world, but I want the winning quarterback. That being said, though, he's played good ball this year, but he's had a pretty decent offensive line protecting him. He has 2 really good wide receivers. He has a good tight end. He has a good running back. And to top it off, again, like you mentioned, you just hit on, is the coaching. And I'll venture to even say this, maybe not Anthony Lynn or the defensive coaches, but the offensive coaching staff. Same thing you saw with Phillip Rivers there. They're just phenomenal. And if you put Locke with that coaching staff, I guarantee you, maybe he won't be Herbert or Herbert's numbers, but he'd be a lot better. Coaching makes such a big difference, Chad, and Herbert has it there in LA.
All right, let's grab John a super chat here. The next one in line, I'm not sure who's in line here, but we'll come back to some of these topics. There's Jason. Let me see what I have in my order. Oh, here we go. Stu Meat with a super sticker. Really appreciate that, my friend. Thank you very much. Always good to see you, and we appreciate your support. Talk about a superstar. Stu Meat's up there, Zach.
He sure is. Just for the stickers alone, Chad. It's always a journey.
Absolutely. All right, let me see here where else. There's quite a few things I want to get back to, but a lot of great questions and super stacked up. Kenneth Booker, man, we love you, Kenneth. You're a stud. We really appreciate you. He's got a question for Zach though.
Yeah. Should
we sign Awuzie, the corner down in Dallas, to replace AJ Bouye?
No. And let me tell you why. It's because Cheeto is a lot like AJ Bouye. He's a cornerback 2 masquerading as a cornerback 1, and he's very inconsistent. Sometimes he makes a great play and a great pick or a great pass deflection. Other times he's getting burned, 15, 20 yards down the field. I go, Chad, the young route. I'm drafting a young cornerback again. You bring back Bryce Callahan. You have Ojemudia. Maybe have Devontae Bosby. Draft a couple guys. Maybe sign, a lower-tier veteran, but not Cheeto. He'd want too much money, and he's way too unreliable, at least for me.
Shout out to John Libick, one of our Facebook supporters. Good to see you, my friend. Appreciate you being in the stream. All right, so what do we have here? Man, just a really active chat so far. Loving it. Appreciate you guys. Stu, we call him Zeus. Everyone knows Zeus. Mick Peak in the house. And when we do get that Mount Rushmore banner up, Stu, first name up there.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate you, bro. He's telling everybody hello. And Stu, we wish you a Merry Christmas. Please give our best to your darling family. Appreciate you, brother.
If we ever print currency, Chad, like MHH currency, he'd be on the dollar bill. I mean, he's our George Washington. He's our founding father. We love you so much, Stu. Thank you so much.
Back to the topic of Justin Herbert, I didn't really fully flesh out my thought on this is, just because he's doing so well and Broncos fans see Drew kind of going through the ups and downs, it doesn't necessarily mean that you go, well, look, this is what you could have. This is what you do have. Toss this guy away and go do whatever you can to get this guy. Now, if you were in a legit position to maybe get Trevor Lawrence, I would have a different opinion. Looking at this coming up quarterback class, and I could be proven wrong on this in retrospect when a year or two goes down the road. But aside from Trevor Lawrence, Zach, there's no one really in this draft that today I would without even thinking, hands down, take over Drew Lock in 2021. And so, unless the Broncos have a better option than Locke, you stick with Locke and you continue to nurture him and develop him through that learning curve and give him the continuity. And that's what I think is exciting is, look, Justin Herbert is proving why he was a number 6 overall pick in a first rounder. He's one of those rare, and it is rare. It's becoming a little bit more common, but it's not a common thing. Quarterback comes straight out of the box and onto the field in the NFL and dominates and just blows it up. That's not typically how it goes. You have to develop guys for a solid 3-year window. And I still think, Zach, that given the time, given the continuity, that Drew Lock can get there. I think he still has the tools and the upside. Maybe not, all pro, maybe not Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, obviously, but he's a guy that can really help you win games and be a bona fide franchise quarterback. He has that potential. Now, that doesn't mean he'll reach it. But I think the Broncos, faced with not really any obvious and evident opportunities to upgrade the position, that's why you're going to see them continue with Drew, one more year.
And the thing with him is winning. It's not just potential or theoretical. He's proven he can win in this league, Chad. So, you have the bare bones and you have the mold of the clay to make a franchise quarterback. And I'm in agreement with you. And I'm a big Drew Lock fan, as most of you guys know, but I got to be honest, watching Zach Wilson yesterday, he was pretty phenomenal. And I would really put him as QB2 in this draft class over over Fields, over Trey Lance. I would not even put him that much below Trevor Lawrence. He really impressed me yesterday. He just has that it factor. He almost is like a Drew Lock on steroids. The throws he was making, the tight window throws and the arm talent and that natural charisma. No matter where he ends up, if it's in Denver or another team next year, I'm going to be watching Zach Wilson. I think he's going to be a tremendous pro. I like what I saw yesterday a lot.
This is the Overtime Podcast Network.
All right, so we got one real quick. Special request. Here y'all go. You ready?
You got to torture this man. He's been through enough.
Here you go. All right. Let me do this, yo. Let's do this.
Oh, man, I can't.
Okay?
John, you want to tag in for me?
Let's do this. Come on now. Broncos and Christmas. What do
You got your mask on, Chad?
What's that?
Socially distant Christmas, got your mask on? Okay.
When I go out into the world, all right, I walk into Walmart, this is what I have on. And they say, sir, mask. I say, mask. This is it.
Year round.
All right. I'm going to take one or two questions with the Santa beard. I don't care what anybody says, okay? This is a professional podcast, all right? This is Sports Illustrated. This is how we roll, okay? Andy Young, good to see you, my friend. Really appreciate you hopping in on Super Chat. We appreciate the support. I'm checking my list twice here. It looks like you are on the nice list. So expect some pretty big things on Friday morning under that tree, dog. He says, I like Locke, but his middling success will keep us drafting 9 to 15 every year. You can call it QB purgatory unless we can bank on a top 10 defense every year. He needs to pop in year 3. Zach, I agree. He has to pop. And if he doesn't pop, it's probably going to spell curtains for Elway, Fangio. That's it.
You got that right, St. Nick. I'm fully in agreement with you. And, I wouldn't say he's a middling quarterback. I wouldn't put, and maybe you can call me a homer. I saw one of the comments recently is, I was a homer because I want Locke to do well. No, I want the Broncos to do well. I don't want Locke to do well or any player in particular. I want the Broncos to. But it's unfair to put any labels on the guy with not even going into his 3rd season yet. He's still a young quarterback going through the progressions. They can win with him. You've proven in games, no matter the opponent, whether it's Miami or Carolina, if you have the right game plan and the right coaching, you can win with Drew Lock. That's all we're saying.
It can be done. All right, check the record.
It has been done.
I keep lists, okay? I know who's naughty. I know who's nice. Drew hasn't been straight naughty. There's been some nice games, all right? I'm thinking Week 14, Houston Texans. I'm thinking same week, right? It was Week 14, yeah, against Carolina. All right, last one. From St. Nick here, all right? Fat Cat's jumping in. Appreciate you, my friend. He says, love the podcast, guys. Appreciate you. If Locke and Shermer mix as well as oil and water this year, is there any OC out there that can fix this? Zach, as I serve this over to you, the more I've kind of marinated on this topic, I've kind of worked out some of my hormones on the issue. I'm not as rock solid that it has to be Pat, because the more I watch the All-22 in the film, like you're literally seeing Pat Shermer run more Rich Scangarello type looks and scheme and boot action and things. They should have just kept Rich. Even Shermer's going, man, Drew is a better fit for that scheme than what I've rolled out for him so far. So I'm starting to kind of come around to the possibility that it might not be the worst thing to bring in another OC.
Really? It might not be the worst thing to replace Pat Shermer. And to answer the question, any young mind that's in tune with today's NFL and in tune with the type of quarterback Locke is, it doesn't even take experience because, as you just mentioned, Scangarello was a rookie coordinator. He was a 40-year-old guy who was a career underling, and he finally got his chance in Denver, went 4-1 with Drew Lock. And again, he wasn't perfect, but the creativity and, like you've mentioned before, his teaching, Chad. his mentorship at the quarterback position, he was way more of a quarterback whisperer and a quarterback guru than Pat Shurmur ever was. So I was of the mind when they fired him, I was like, that's way too impulsive. It's way too knee-jerk, and it comes around and it ends up biting them. In terms of candidates, though, I mean, you see in the NFL what a young offensive mind can do with any quarterback. Look at Stefanski in Cleveland. Look at Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona. Look at Joe Brady, even in Carolina with Teddy Bridgewater. Kellen Moore in Dallas with Dak Prescott. These are all common denominators. You match a young quarterback with a younger offensive mind. These are all younger coaches. A 58-year-old Pat Shurmur who stuck in 2005 is never going to jibe with a quarterback that's playing in 2020. So I'm of the mind, you keep Locke or get rid of Locke. I want to get new coaching staff on the offensive side in this building. I want a new mindset in the building.
The problem is where I do come up against a little bit of a limit on this topic is I wouldn't want to just change for the sake of change. Like similar to Drew, if you don't have a clear-cut superior option, then you stick with Drew. And Zach, we can do some research on this and provide some better, some better options out there in terms of quarterback coaches around the league that might be in the system ready to move up. And because here's the thing, now. You can't just look at, say, Carolina and say, I want Brady in Denver. He's got an offensive coordinator job. He's not going to move, and the Panthers wouldn't let him unless he was fired.
It's a lateral move, too.
Yeah, and so you need to find that next up-and-coming wave, and you look at the quarterbacks. It really starts in the NFL anyway, at the quarterbacks coach level. And then, of course, you look at Division I football, head coaches that have an offensive kind of mindset. So, we can start looking at some of that, but I'm willing to bet money, Zach, that when John Elway sits down and on his end of season press conference, the Monday following the season finale, he's going to have Vic Fangio sitting next to him, signifying and symbolizing that we're sticking with Vic. And they're going to sit up there and say, no, Pat's our guy for 2021. And it might just render the whole point moot for us, but we'll start looking into it and give you some answers here. Dennis Woods, rocking the same dad hat that you see Zach sporting right now. Appreciate you, Dennis. He says, just want to wish a Merry Christmas to the whole MHH family. Hashtag Denver Broncos for life. Hashtag state of being from Michigan. We really appreciate that.
Merry Christmas.
Love you, buddy. Superstar. I do miss you on Twitter. I know you got your beef with Twitter, and I know why you have your beef with Twitter, and I really do feel you on that, Dennis, to be frank. But we miss you, all right? What can I say? Pobby, wow. Amazing. Very, just very generous. Thank you, Pobby. We love you. We appreciate you. Another MHH Mount Rushmore showing the true colors. And she says, happy holidays, MHH family. Hope 2021 will be better for each and every one of us. Yes. I think it will. I think it will. This was a weird outlier type of outlier years to end all outlier years. So good times ahead. Nowhere to go but up.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it can't be worse, but yeah, as we proved this year, I mean, it can always get worse. So thank you so much, Bobby, and your interaction with us. It's why you're the princess. And I said we have another contribution from the queen of MHH. It's you guys that keep this whole thing spinning. It's you guys that make us cheerful and make us merry, no matter if it's Christmas or year round. So thank you so much, Bobby, and happy holidays.
Much love.
There it is.
The queen of MHH jumping in top rope as well. Christy, we love you. Appreciate you. This is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
It just blows us away, the support we get from the superstars in our community. She says, hope the MHH fam has an amazing holiday and a very positive outlook on the new year. Love you guys and this awesome community. You guys make this chat what it is and keep MHH on the top. Thank you guys, and Merry Christmas to you and your families. Hey, you as well, Christy. Yes. Seriously, we're seriously lucky and grateful to have a community that we do, and you exemplify that in a big way.
Yes, Christy, and you're so inspiring. Anyone who doesn't follow her on Twitter is missing out. She's such a positive and compassionate and loving individual, and just a great soul to have on this planet. And we love you so much, Christy. Thank you so much.
Yep, and seriously, I mean, I thought about wearing the Santa mask, and then I totally forgot about it. So
I miss it now.
Shout out. I would rock it through the whole thing, but the glasses fog up and then I can't see.
It looked like you had like Botox because the thing was pulled down. It looked like your eyes were swollen shut.
I don't know. We'll see. Kenneth, I don't think so. Kenneth Booker, again, thank you, bro. Hey, does Chris Harris get into the Ring of Fame? Excellent question. we talked a little bit about this, Zach, when it became evident he was, he was going to hightail it. Push comes to shove, I'm putting him in there, and not just because he's a 4-time Pro Bowler as a Bronco and a world champion as a Bronco, but because his story is so unique. It's not, we have in recent Bronco canon, we have some really, when I say marvelous, I mean the true sense of the word. It's something you marvel at. Undrafted rookies doing big things like C.J. Anderson, Shaq Barrett, although most of his big things came after. He still contributed to a world title, played in the Super Bowl. Philip Lindsay, obviously. But Chris Harris, it's him and Rod Smith that sustained it. Some of those other guys, they were either flashes in the pan. Not flash in the pan, that's being a little too dismissive. But guys that, that it was like 2-3 year spurt, and then it kind of fades and they move on. Chris sustained it for nearly a decade. And so I think that puts him in the Ring of Fame when the time comes. Like I would, if I was on that committee, not only would I vote to put him in, but I would tell you even now as someone who covers the team, I think when that time comes, Chris Harris is a pretty safe bet. He'll eventually get into the Ring of Fame.
Well, based on his resume, he's definitely deserving, but let's look at the way he exited Denver. He didn't just bow out gracefully. He didn't just retire. I mean, he left over money. He made a big stink about that and caused a lot of dissension last year, and then joined the Broncos division rival and wants to play them twice a year and beat them for vindication. It reminds me a lot of the Al Wilson saga in Denver. Great player, but there was a falling out between front office and player that kind of exacerbated the Ring of Fame and bringing him back in the fold. I can see him getting in one day, Chris Harris Jr. He deserves it, but based on the way he left Denver, it could be a drawn-out process, I think.
Yeah, but a lot of times, that fades. Time heals all wounds, and Elway's getting up there in age, and he's whatever beef he has, it's probably mostly with Elway. But one thing real quick before I forget is, John wanted to say thanks to everybody as well, and a shout out to all the superstars and the entire community. This is, you'll hear from us again in the year 2020, right? Zach and I will be back together on Sunday for the rapid reaction and the gut reaction. Zach and John are going to be holding it down tomorrow night. We did a poll, and even though the majority wanted a Christmas Eve and a Christmas podcast, we're going to stick with just Christmas Eve this time around. Last year we did stream on Christmas, but just the way with schedules are lining up, different families, different things, we're going to stick to Thursday night, Christmas Eve. It's going to be Zach and John. So I'll see you guys on Sunday, but John just wants to, and you'll get a chance to talk to John tomorrow night, but we'd be remiss, Zach, if we didn't convey John's regards to everybody as well.
Yeah, he's such an integral part of this process, Chad. I mean, he helps us out tremendously, and he's a big figurehead in Broncos country. So follow him, guys, at John K. MHH. Great guy, great follow, great Broncos fan.
BG, another top rope cat. And Brian, every day when I tweet out the superstars and I type in your name, I'm always like, man, I wish Brian was on Twitter. Get on Twitter, dude. Connect with us, and let's keep the conversation going there. But BG is another superstar guy that, I mean, seriously, an OG here on the Huddle Up podcast. He was one of the guys that really just showered us with support when we started doing these as live streams, because we've been doing the Huddle Up podcast for years and years. And then we started doing it live, right? A lot of you know this story, but we started doing it live to kick off the 2019 NFL season. And BG was one of the guys that showed out day in, day out. He's currently the individual record holder for the biggest individual super chat in a show. And so, BG, you just keep it coming, dude, and we love you. We appreciate you. And he says, honestly, I don't care if we win the last 2 games as long as Drew plays well. But I honestly can see us going after Matthew Stafford. And I would bet the Broncos at least look into Dak Prescott if he decides to leave. But do you guys think they even inquire about Stafford? That's a good question. It wouldn't stun me to learn at some point that he made a phone call Elway just to check, but cost, return on investment, all that stuff, it would really have to line up, because I think they still really do feel good about Drew. It's just a matter of how much growing pains. It'd be a different story, Zach, with Drew, I think, altogether if this was 2016 or 2017. You're a couple of years removed from the Super Bowl, and instead of it being Brock, defecting and then moving on to Paxton and that failing and having to rely on Trevor, if you went from Brock defecting to a Drew Lock regime starting in 2016 or 2017, it would be different, I think, for fans and the team, because you're like, all right, let's nurture him through the process, give him time. But now that you're presiding over this many seasons without the playoffs, and in fact, this is something Luke Patterson talks about quite a bit, the fact that the Broncos are now the first team in NFL history, in the Super Bowl era anyway, to win the Super Bowl and then miss the playoffs the last 5 years. So I can see why. The reason I'm kind of going on a little bit of a tangent here, but the reason why I go through all this context, Zach, is that maybe that because of that, Elway does check in a little bit because he's feeling that urgency. But at the same time, you've gone this far. You've put in this much work. Do you really want to all of a sudden turn tail on that, go back to an old model that hasn't worked for you, and then see it blow up in your face at an even more catastrophic level?
That was exactly my point. It's not a question we can really answer because it's not a question that Elway has even answered for himself yet. And that question is, do you want to go the young route or do you want to go back to the old route? Do you want to have a rental like a Stafford or do you want to keep developing a young guy like a Locke or insert name here for next season? And I tend to think after the disasters that were Case Keenum and Joe Flacco, Elway sees around the NFL, he's not stupid, that it takes a young quarterback, preferably a dual threat quarterback, to succeed at this level. So, gun to my head, I don't see Matt Stafford coming here. Unfortunately, I don't see Dak Prescott coming here. I see Drew Lock or another young quarterback starting next year, and that should be the way it is, Chad. You're never going to win a title with Matt Stafford in Denver. You're not going to win a title with Matt Ryan, who's proven to be a choke artist in Denver. You need a young quarterback, and I think Elway has the right approach.
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest, to see Matt Ryan go from Atlanta, like if they were to move on from him and he lands in the right situation to have kind of a Kurt Warner-esque second wave of his career on the back nine. Because, again, I'm with you in terms of he doesn't interest me for Denver, but this is a guy, former MVP of the league, right? Multi-time Pro Bowler. The yardage and the stats he's put up consistent every year, but when the rubber meets the road and the chips are down, more often than not, he's a guy that, just can't quite get over the hump. Now, in Kurt Warner's case, it's not quite analogous because, Kurt got to the top of the mountain really, really quick with the greatest show on turf and then kind of fell off and came back and got close again. So, Ryan's never been to the top of the mountain, right? He's never summited that particular.
It was close.
He came close, right?
28-3. Came close. But isn't he also like 38 right now? So how many years does he have left? I mean, he's getting up there in age. And you mentioned the yardage and the MVP. Wasn't most of that under Kyle Shanahan or the majority of that? That's the guy who seemed to coax the talent out of him.
The MVP season was under Shanahan, but he hasn't played for it wasn't a majority of time under Shanny. But look, he is, let's see here. Where's his age? Why isn't it showing me his age? It usually shows me the age on Pro Football Reference. That's weird. But get this, okay? This cat, I'll just show you a quick share screen. And by the way, Muhammad, MHH Mel Model.
He's 35, going on 36. I was wrong.
Okay, there you go. 35, going on 36. Muhammad says, hopefully one day our offense will have the right coaching. Hashtag stay great. I talked to one guy earlier this week that's former Division I college quarterback. And he's like, when I watch Pat Shurmur's offense this year with Drew, it almost feels like to me that it's like a dialed back version of what Pat Shurmur's offense, like it's pared down because they didn't have enough time to install all the little things and whatnot. And that's like his theory. And I can see that a little bit just because there were OTAs, but still, I think so far what's proven out in the film is that it's just simply Locke doesn't seem like he's a good fit for Shurmur, or the other way around. Shurmur needs to scheme more to Locke, and you're starting to see him do that more. Like I mentioned earlier, you're seeing him start running a lot more concepts that look a heck of a lot more like Scangarello, a lot more two tight ends, stuff like that, which is just ironic.
It took the man 14 weeks to dial up a screen pass, or it took the guy 14 weeks to coach Locke to check it down for now and then take the deep shots down the field later on, and it proved successful. And so what does Pat Shurmur do the following week? No deep balls at all. Goes completely away from that. And I agree with the premise of what that former quarterback was saying, Chad. It seems like Pat Shurmur is stuck in the 2005 to 2010 NFL like he was when he was with the Eagles. And it's just not the NFL anymore. The game changes really fast, really rapidly, and you have to have the mind to keep up. The game, to me, has passed Pat Shurmur by at his age.
Eddie here jumping in. Good to see you, my brother, superstar. He says, is an offseason with Shurmur going to make the difference we want to see with Locke? I just want 14 back, Sutton, Judy to catch. Locke not to throw off his back foot, and a healthy defense. Amen. That's what you're hoping for in 2021.
And you know what? I mean, those are all doable things. But to go on to my last point, why hasn't KJ Hamler got thrown a bubble screen? Why hasn't he been involved in a jet sweep? You want a coach who's going to use the talent. Otherwise, it's pointless. It's like putting cinder blocks on a Ferrari. It looks good, and you have it there. You just can't do anything with it. It's not practical. I just want a coach that's going to maximize the talent. Because you know what, Chad? Record notwithstanding, this Broncos offense has talent. They have players that can do some damage.
They're close, man. They're close, and it's just the little things. And in some ways, those little things, you're like, well, how do you bridge the distance? Like, how do you bridge the gap of these little things? And in some ways, it's just sometimes teams get lucky and the stars align. And in the Broncos case, because I think they got so lucky with the Peyton Manning sweepstakes and then having that 4-year reign and all that, it's almost like the football gods are making them earn it back. There's no more benefit of the doubt, man. If we're not letting anything fall. No domino is falling without you making it fall. And we'll see how that shakes out. It's just the scheme in the quarterback. Because as Zach said, the talent is there. It's there to be utilized. It's there to be capitalized on. It's a matter of this OC and this quarterback getting on the same page. And I think it's more of this OC going, look, I have to figure out and do a better job of fitting me and my philosophies and what I want to do to Drew. And let's grab Zachary real quick. Love you, buddy. Talk about a superstar, MHH, Mount Rushmore. Congratulations on your new podcast. Really cool to see that going on. Yeah. I don't remember the name of it, though, because the last post I saw, you were putting out ideas for names and stuff. But nevertheless, dude, congrats. That's really cool. He's got a little pod going with Duke and Terry. So congrats, my friend, and Merry Christmas. He says, in my opinion, we just need patience with Locke. He has the potential to be the QB. We just need to give him consistency. He has had 6 offensive coordinators in 6 years, so we need patience. # Merry Christmas, family. I think it's actually 1, 2. I think it's 5 and 6. He's had 5 in 6 years. He had 1 coordinator for 2 years at Missouri, and then everything else. It's been a new guy every year from there.
What's the difference if it's 6 and 7 years then? I mean, he's used to change. He's used to turnover, and I'd rather make one more change and say, okay, Drew, learn one more system, but this guy is going to be the right guy for you. This guy will maximize you. I think he would sign up for that, Chad, pretty fairly easily.
All right, we got one here from a superstar in our community, Jeff C. Tonight, man, the superstars are out in force. We love it. We appreciate you guys. He says, can we get Judy off Twitter for now? Shake my head. Let me see. John brought this to our attention earlier today. Again, Twitter's been weird for me since I got my new phone. So I appreciate John keeping me in the loop here. But let's take a look at what Jeff might be talking about here, and John. I'll bring it up real quick, and then we'll move on. What are we at? We're at 50 minutes, so we got to kind of move quick after this. But Judy's most recent tweet from 3 hours ago, he says, if you got more following than followers and your face isn't on your profile picture, don't waste your time trying to argue with me. You're a nobody. Please and thank you. And then he replies to himself, except for the nice ones, LOL. And then he replies to himself, they only love you. Oh, no, that's not a reply. This is a separate tweet. They only love you when you are at the top. And then he does a little 100, 3 hours, about the same time. He quote tweets a Sports Illustrated, meme that quotes Juju Smith-Schuster that says he's changing his pregame routine, dancing in the midfield logo. He's not doing that anymore. Jerry says, prime example on how the media turn on you. Man, been doing it all year. Since they lost 3 straight, now it's a problem. LOL. It's naughty word. Poop crazy, okay? That dude's on the naughty list now. He's not getting that gift I had in mind for him. Zach, to me, this isn't anything too gnarly, but this isn't like it was a week and a half ago.
I mean, he's not doing anything malicious. I mean, again, guys, this is a 21-year-old kid. He's still young in the human sense of life, not just being in the NFL. And he's had a tough year, and he's right there with the Juju thing. He's defending a receiver, and that clique, diva receivers, it's such a tight community. They're all alike. They're all cut from the same cloth. You don't want to see it, Chad. You know, it adds to the kind of up and down season he's had, but it's nothing worth chewing your fingernails over.
Broncos 2447 on YouTube says, Zach Wilson all the way. And I'm a huge Drew Lock fan, but Zach Wilson is further along right now. Look, you say that, all right, but you got to look at the competition BYU's been playing. Like, I think Zach Wilson is an interesting quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I do like him. But to say that he's farther along than Drew Lock, dude, remember, Drew Lock, all 4 years in college, SEC, dude, that was the level he was going up against. And trust, I mean, if you're in the SEC and you're not built with one of the high recruiting schools around you, if you're not Alabama, Florida, LSU, Auburn, you know, depending on the era, you are walking into a buzzsaw more often than not. Zach Wilson, he's playing out in like La La Land, independent country, drawing pretty easy competition out there. So be careful saying that Zach Wilson is farther along than Drew Lock. That doesn't mean Wilson won't come into the league and be good or even maybe be better than Drew, but just be careful.
You hit on it. I mean, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Lock, and I'm a big fan of Zach Wilson, as I mentioned earlier. I think when all is said and done, he'll be the second quarterback off the board, wherever that may be. But a guy who's never taken one snap will never be further along than a guy in his second season in the NFL. It's just what's so. It's a different animal in college versus the pros. That's why they say, you know, Alabama versus the Jets, who would win that game? The Jets would destroy Alabama every time. So Drew Lock, he's been in the NFL. He's taken his lumps. He's going through the progressions of being an NFL quarterback. Zach Wilson looks good in college, but it's a whole different speed. It's a whole different stratosphere. He's going to be a good one, I think, Zach Wilson, but it doesn't mean that Lock can't be either.
Tom El Greco up there in Canada. Love you, buddy. Appreciate you. He says, if we get the 12th pick, do we take Micah Parsons, guys? I would be all about it because, look, I think the focus in the early rounds, depending on, you know, how you have the board, if you're the Broncos, but it needs to be replenishing that defense because they made defense almost their entire focus in the draft by and large for probably the majority of Elway's tenure in the front office. That switch, that changed in 2018. Even though Chubb was the first-round pick, all the offensive picks from Cortland, then you move on to 2019, you get Noah, then you get Dalton, then you get Locke, and then 2020 you get Judy, Hamler. Later on, you get Albert O. So the focus has been building that nest offensively. You've got the pieces there. Now it's a matter of developing them, getting them out there. But look at the defense. This is what you saw last week. The defensive the holes there that just came out in the wash in a big, bad way. You got to replenish that defense. So if you can get a Micah Parsons at 12, you take that. You don't look that gift horse in the mouth. The only thing I would say is it would depend on if Farley was also on the board. But right. I would be stoked if it was Parsons.
Did you guys recently see the game that Devin White had for the Bucs, the inside linebacker? Watching that made me want that type of guy. It makes me want that dynamic inside linebacker because we've been saying it for years now. It's the missing piece of this defense. I would love Micah Parsons, but my answer is always going to be who else is on the board when they go on the clock there? Is Farley on the board? Does in some universe, does Zach Wilson fall that far? You have choices you can make at that spot, but if Parsons is the BPA, I'm finally taking that inside linebacker, Chad, the dynamic guy, and I'm going to war with him in between Bradley Chubb and Von Miller. Can you believe that? Can you imagine how dynamic and lethal that would be in a Vic Fangio defense?
Savage Boy Kev, shout out to our Twitch community, which is steadily growing. And so, Kev, we appreciate you joining us and throwing in some comments and questions and whatnot. So welcome and stick around, man. Every night we stream, which is 7 days a week, 6 o'clock Mountain, 7 p.m. Mountain. We also stream on Twitch each and every time. So welcome and thank you. But his point here is, and people don't realize that if we draft a quarterback, we're still going to have the same coaches and a bad offensive coordinator. So that's another thing to factor into. If you don't have a clear and evident and obvious upgrade opportunity at quarterback, Drew, you got to stick it out with Drew.
I'm going to say this. I put it out on Twitter. I'm going to say it again. If Locke goes, I think Pat Shurmur has to go as well. Because do you really want to deliver a Fields or a Lance or a Zach Wilson to ... Pat Shurmur, of all people, a guy who could not coach Drew Lock, a guy who got fired from the Giants and the Browns? You want him to develop a blue chip first round quarterback? No. If Lock goes, Shurmur does as well. Bring in a new offensive mind who's more in tune with today's game and build up that quarterback the right way, no matter who it is.
Dave from Georgia, another superstar. Good to see you, my friend. Merry Christmas to you. He says, do y'all think we'll draft an inside backer or sign a free agent? And who do you think that would be? No, I definitely think, because look, you got Josie is going to be going in, Josie Jewell contract year. You got an RFA with Alexander Johnson. And I think Nick Kendall was right. He talked about this last night on Building the Broncos, that, there was some hope that maybe AJ could take a step forward and really kind of emerge as one of the best off-ball linebackers in the game. But really, he's kind of just I would say probably average off-ball linebacker with some potential to maybe be a little bit better. And you got Josie going into a contract year. You got to draft a guy, and you got to draft him early. Now, I know you've got Justin Sternad coming back next year, and there are possibilities there. But I'm hedging, dude. I'm guaranteeing that I'm going to have an upgrade there and a massive infusion of athletic ability at that position in the draft. We can go through, if we had more time, Dave, we can go look at some of the free agent inside linebackers next year, and we'll do it later on. But for now, my focus, Zach, would be draft.
Yeah, I think I'm with you. You can't rely on Justin Sternad because he can be a nice depth piece or maybe like a Josie Jewell type starter. I don't see Devin White in Justin Sternad. I think he's a nice guy to have, but certainly he's like the Malik Reed of the inside linebackers. I want the blue chip guy. And I think the Broncos have waited it out long enough and ignored it long enough. They can't anymore. I'm with you. Jewell is an average guy. AJ is maybe slightly above average, but he's not that great in pass coverage. I want the 3-down guy. I want the sideline-to-sideline guy. If it's Micah Parsons, sign me up.
Hey, appreciate you, my friend Albert Knoppers. I believe the one thing that I wish StreamYard did better, and I'm going to have to look into this once the season starts slowing down and I can look into this, is I wish StreamYard displayed when we get stars on Facebook, because when we see, John, anytime a comment like this that's on in the chat but it appears blank, it's stars. It's like Facebook's version of Super Chat. So we don't see what it is exactly, but it's stars. So Albert, one of our supporters as well over on Facebook, love you, buddy. Merry Christmas to you. It's really good to see you. And Christy says, has Zach been good this year, Santa? Here, let me tell you. All right. Zach has been a good boy. He's going to get some good.
My gift is a better 2021 and the Broncos back in the playoffs. That's my gift.
There you go. There you go.
I can't keep a straight face.
Meme it, MHH. Get it out there, dude. Mike Evans, love you, my friend. Good to see you. Merry Christmas to you. Give our best to your family. He says, if we have competition for Drew next year, would you select Jacoby Brissett, Matt Stafford, or draft a quarterback in the first or second round? For me, Zach, unless you have a real shot at Trevor Lawrence, you're just bringing in a upgrade as a fail-safe backup. And I think Jacoby Brissett would make a lot of sense for that because he's been down the road. He's played enough in the league to be able to mentor and help him, but he's not necessarily a guy anyone in that locker room is going, this is who we should be following, not Drew. Because that's something you also have to balance. Even though Drew at this point, like sink or swim, dude, you shouldn't really be tippy-toeing too much around how he's perceived and posturing him and propping him up in the locker room. But still, Jacoby Brissett's a guy to keep an eye on because he would make a lot of sense for that role, Zach.
Well, I mean, first of all, Matt Stafford, we've said this 100 times. If he comes to Denver by some chance, he's not coming here to compete for a job or to back up Drew Lock. He would be the guy, the starter. I don't know that Brissett, does anything for me. Again, it's like a Jeff Driscoll. If Lock goes down next year, he busts. If the Broncos want to stay afloat with a healthy team, is Brissett going to be the guy to get you those wins? I want a guy who can step in and has some ceiling. Brissett has no ceiling. So I'm probably drafting a quarterback. Doesn't have to be first, second round, maybe Mac Jones in the third round if he falls, somewhere in that range. Doesn't have to be a blue chipper, but doesn't have to be something like Brissett either. I think somewhere in the middle.
BG again, man. Wow. Thank you, my friend. He says, Zach, you said it a couple pods ago. Josh Allen probably would have succeeded with this staff. So what's that tell you? Wouldn't have, I think is what he means. Clean house. Do you concur?
It means that coaching is so important for a young quarterback's development, and the quarterback has to have talent for sure. You can't make, Ryan Leaf into a Hall of Famer, but Drew Lock has that talent. He has the arm talent. He's shown he can win in this league, and Josh Allen was getting the same criticism that Drew Lock was. Inconsistent, mistake-prone, inaccurate, and it took Brian Daboll coming in there and the proper coaching staff, and what is he now? An MVP candidate, if not a potential winner, when all is said and done. The guy is an elite quarterback, mostly or partly because of coaching. That's the premise here.
Jacob, thank you for the stars on Facebook, my friend. It really does. It means a lot to us. It's like super chatting on Facebook. So really appreciate that. Thank you, my friend. If you have any questions, John will keep an eye out, but we are running out of time. And now that I think about it, I saw one from Dale, a super chat, John. Did we get Dale? Oh, here's a question actually from Jacob. What do you guys think of drafting a running back in the second round? Najee Harris or Javonte Williams from UNC? I don't know. I was thinking about that today, Zach, that you got a lot committed in Melvin. We'll see what happens. If they end up moving on from him because of his contract and because of that 2-game suspension. And then you got a decision to make with Phillip. I still think he gets the RFA tender.
Yeah.
But, you look at some of these young quarterbacks who are thriving this year, all right? Including, Herbert's actually kind of one of the exceptions, but look at Baker, dominant running game. Look at Kyler Murray, productive running game. If you could get, and even look at Derek Carr with what's going on with his running back there. If you can get a guy that takes you to that next level, think of 2016 Dallas with Zeke and Dak. Dak's a young guy. Boom, all of a sudden you're in the divisional round. I can see it, but only if it's the right guy. You don't just do it to draft one. It would have to be a dynamic guy. Harris, maybe. Williams, maybe. But holler at me on that, Jacob, when we're a little bit closer to the draft, and I'll have a more articulate answer for you.
But then you look at a player like Allen in Buffalo. Who does he have in the backfield? Devin Singletary and Zach Moss. I would venture to say that Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay are better than them. You look at Jalen Hurts in Philadelphia. He has Miles Sanders and nobody else. You don't need a running game. And for my money and for Chad's money, Phillip Lindsay can be that spark. He can be your starter. I think Melvin Gordon, depending on his situation, his legal situation, I think he'll come back probably at his dollar figure. You have Lindsay coming back. I would say draft a running back, but not in the second round. You need offensive lineman, cornerback, inside linebacker. Those take precedent over a running back to me.
By the way, guys, I apologize if you hear a little dog bark here and there. Usually I'm able to nip that in the bud, but my son just came here and they're all excited to see him, my 18-year-old. So apologies if they're a little excited. Usually we're able to keep that out, but let's grab Dale. Appreciate you, Dale. He says, some want Stafford, but what's the cost? The trade cost plus possible cap casualties with his salary. Simmons, Harris, Lindsey, Sutton.
Right.
Let Locke grow. We feel you, man. That's pretty much the philosophy we have here.
You're giving up, let's say, a second-round pick, I would assume, and taking on his contract. What's his cap number, Chad? 18, 20, 25 million?
Let's look real quick since we're on the topic. Hold on.
And then you still have to pay, like the question posits, you still have to pay Simmons, you still have to pay Shelby Harris, you just pay Garrett Bowles. You want to take care of your in-house talent. Sutton's going to come up soon. Bradley Chubb, Von Miller. Why waste that money on Matt Stafford? And that's exactly why.
I'm telling you right now. So it would just depend on how much of the contract the Broncos would be expected to pick up in terms of money he's already been paid that is now inflating his cap number. But his base salary, Stafford, is $9.5 million, but he's got a $13 million prorated bonus that's fed into the number. Plus he gets a roster bonus, plus a workout bonus. So his total cap number next year, all right, $33 million.
Miss me with that. No way. For what? An injury-prone, inconsistent quarterback. You're not even getting an Aaron Rodgers. You pay Aaron Rodgers that money and give up the draft pick. You don't pay Matt Stafford that money. That's ridiculous. Completely.
All right, let me see. John, I'll just tell you what I'm seeing on my side. We've got one more from BG, Kenneth, and then two more from BG and Kenneth, and I think we're out of here. And let's mow through them because we got that one. There's one more after that he's talking about. It just did a jump. He's talking about developing a young QB with the coaching staff. Okay, here it is. Thanks, BG. Okay, can we develop a young quarterback with this coaching staff? I say no. And if not, we need a veteran proven quarterback or a coaching change starting with Vic. Vic's not getting moved, guys. There's maybe the outside chance that they do something different at OC, but honestly, I hate to disappoint those of you who are pining for it. And again, I've kind of opened up to the idea that it might not be the worst thing to move on from Shermer. But again, Zach, it would come down to really feeling confident that it's an upgrade, not a questionable, well, let's just hope type situation.
Yeah, for you guys expecting bloody murder on this coaching staff and house cleaning, I would not hold my breath. Fangio is safe. More than likely, I'd say Pat Shermer is safe. Donatell is staying. McMahon should be a goner, and there might be some little tweaks, but for the most part, it's going to be more of the same in 21.
All right. I would love this. He is getting a little long in the tooth. KB, appreciate the super chat. Levante David should be our free agent linebacker. I'd be all over that. I'd be really all over that 4 years ago. Now I'd still be interested. Be interested, but at the right price.
You got me, Chad. I thought you were going to be all over it now, and I'm like, I want to develop my own Levante David. I want to get that young prospect. I don't want to get him at the tail end of his career. I want to get him not even before his prime. So I want to get my own guy. So it has to be through the draft.
All right, 2 more, and then we got to go. BG again. Wow, thank you, my friend. He says, did that Santa hat only come with an XXL stash? Yeah, I don't know. My wife found it somewhere. Actually, yeah, my wife found it somewhere. So, Ron Dubb, good to see you, my friend. It's been a minute. A superstar, longtime listener, big-time member of our community. Merry Christmas to you, by the way, Ron, and yes. Welcome. We appreciate everything you've done for us over the last year. You've been a big part of our success, and we really appreciate you. And we miss you, my friend.
Some of the best questions, Chad, we get on this podcast, for sure.
I only lament that it's at 1:08 right now, that we're an hour and 8 minutes and we get a good question like this. So nevertheless, Ron, better late than never. Appreciate you. He says, hey, guys, if we get a new OC, who would you prefer or recommend? Also, in this new offense, which offensive player would thrive the most?
Number 3.
You do it specifically for the quarterback, but we talked about this earlier in the stream, Ron. Really it just comes down to no offensive coordinator that currently has a job in the league is looking to make a lateral move to go take another offensive coordinator job with Denver, and especially seeing the turnover that's been in Denver at OC, like that's a very prohibitive disincentive, right? For anyone even considering it. What you do is you go around the league and you look at the quarterbacks coaches for these really successful cutting edge offenses out there. And we can put a list together. That's something we'll look at is maybe we can, I'll have a little time actually from Friday, Saturday. And so when we come back Sunday, I'll have a better answer for you on that, Ron.
What about Mike McCoy's up to? How about a third strike at the bat? Look at some of the quarterback coaches around the league. Maybe the quarterback coach for the Chargers with Justin Herbert. Look at the quarterback coach in Arizona. Look at the quarterback coach maybe for the Texans with Deshaun Watson. Chad hit it. You don't want a guy's gonna make a lateral move. You don't want an older guy, a has-been like Pat Shermer. You got to find the ascending Sean McVay types, the ascending Frank Reich and Kyle Shanahan. They're dwindling. They're hard to find, but when you find them, it's success immediately.
This is a name that has been thrown out a few times of late. The current head coach, offense coordinator for the CU Buffs. This guy is the type of guy that you would maybe look at because it's either quarterback coaches in the league or head coaches / offensive coordinators that are in Division I that are interested in moving up the food chain. But this is a former quarterback. He was a 5th round pick in 99. Went to the Cleveland Browns, played for the Cowboys, the Falcons as well. He's moved around. He's been a coach now since 2007. But anyway, he's an interesting guy. We're running late, but promise you on that, Ron, we'll give you a more detailed answer once we research it and we can speak better with more authority.
Yeah.
All right, last one. Shout out from Kenneth. Appreciate you, dog. He says, we haven't had a coverage backer since Trevathan. Agreed. Although I would say that Brandon Marshall, maybe not. Marshall was good with Trevathan, but not so good without him, even though he had a couple productive years. But yeah, it's a big time need, Zach. So that's why, you get Micah Parsons in the first round. You do not look that gift horse in the mouth.
No more wasting time on the Sua Cravens or the Mark Barons of the world. Get yourself a real traditional 3-down sideline to sideline off-ball linebacker and watch him thrive in a Fangio defense with this talent, Chad, in front of him and behind him.
Hey, John, where's the sweater gifs, man? Let's throw them up there. You got them? Guys, we're out of here. Thank you so much for spending some time with us on Christmas Eve. We love each and every one of you. We appreciate each and every one of you. Mile high salute to our Super Chat superstars, our Facebook supporters, and those of you who have given us stars. We'll call you superstars as well. Albert, let me see, what was the other fellow's name? We got Albert a couple of times showing stars. Oh, wow, Albert, extremely, extremely generous with the stars. We're just going to have to find a better way, John. Help me remember this. We got to find a better way in stream to recognize when we get these stars on Facebook, because for whatever reason, StreamYard doesn't recognize it. So we're going to come up with a better system. But Albert, we appreciate you, my friend.
Those sweaters are kind of tough. I like those.
Yeah,
I like the Note Vant one.
But hey, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. You're going to see Zach and John tomorrow night. I'm gonna take the night off. I've got a family thing that I'm going to be doing. Obviously, family, Christmas, it's what it's all about. So they'll carry it forward. Ivan, appreciate that, my friend. Really do. That's a guy that just gave some stars. So I'll see you guys though on Sunday. All right, with Zach, and we'll have fun on game day. But in the meantime, boys, hold it down and follow the podcast at Huddle Up Pod. Also the main account at Mile High Huddle. My partner, Zack Kelberman, at Kelberman NFL. Myself, at Chad and Jensen. And the producer, you know him as Buana Beast. On Twitter, it's at John K. MHH. That's KAY-MHH. So connect with us. We love keeping the conversation going there. Also, get on over to milehighhuddle.com. That's another place to keep it going, because we're checking Twitter all day long. We do check in and all that. But we're literally living on the website, milehighhuddle.com. Erasmo, wow, thanks, my friend. Really appreciate that support, my dog. Merry Christmas to you. So other than that, gang, we love you. Zach, send us off here, and good luck tomorrow and happy holidays to you guys.
You as well. I just want to say that John and I have no lives, so that's why we're going to be on here tomorrow night, and we hope to interact with a bunch of you. We understand if you guys are busy. If you can, have a moment, jump in, interact with us. We're looking forward to it. Chad, have a very, very happy and Merry Christmas, and I'll see you Sunday, my friend.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.